Genre: narrative nonfiction. A Life in the Woods. Into the Woods. Henry David Thoreau raised his pen to write, but the chatter of guests in the next room filled his ears. He stared at the page. Concord, 1841, was all that he had written. How would he write a book with such noise in his family's house? Thoreau headed outside, shutting the door with emphasis. He would have to find a place of his own. Thoreau walked out of town. Tall, white pines soon replaced the painted houses. He listened to the rustling of the leaves. What if I could stay here, he thought. He could live off the land, close to nature, and begin his book. It would take work, but he could do it. Years passed, but Thoreau still did not have a place in the woods. One day, his friend, Ralph Waldo Emerson, had an idea. Emerson was a well-known writer who had bought some land near Walden Pond. Because he and Thoreau shared the same interest in nature, Emerson decided to let Thoreau use part of this land. In March of 1845, Thoreau began to build a cabin. By July, it was ready. He could live and write in the woods. Cabin life. Thoreau's move to the woods indicated that he liked to be alone. But Thoreau did not feel that way. "I have a great deal of company in my house," he wrote. Red squirrels woke him by running up and down the sheer sides of his cabin. A snowshoe hare lived in the debris under his cabin, thumping against the floorboards. A sparrow once perched on his shoulder. Thoreau recorded these experiences in his journal. How easily writing came to him with the beauty of nature around him. On Walden Pond. Thoreau was a naturalist. He noticed the habits of animals. Each encounter showed him something new. One afternoon, Thoreau tried to get a close look at a loon, but the bird quickly dove into the pond. He knew loons could travel long distances underwater, so he guessed where it would come up. But every time Thoreau paddled to one spot, the loon came up somewhere else and let out a call, a howling laugh. What a silly loon, Thoreau thought. But after a while, Thoreau felt as though the bird was laughing at him, because he still could not catch up to it. Thoreau wrote in his journal, "His white breast, the stillness of the air, and the smoothness of the water were all against him. At length he uttered one of those prolonged howls, as if calling on the god of the loons to aid him, and immediately there came a wind from the east, and rippled the surface, and filled the whole air with misty rain, and I was impressed." Thoreau published his book Walden in 1854. The spectacular scene made Thoreau wonder at the loon. It no longer seemed a silly animal, but one with some mysterious power. As months went by, Thoreau also became aware of each animal's ability to stay alive. His power of observation seemed to indicate additional senses, Emerson once remarked. In winter, as he warmed his cabin by fire, he watched in awe as the moles warmed their nest by their own body heat. He understood forest life as never before. back to Concord. Like the geese that move to new ponds at the season's end, so too did Thoreau leave Walden. He had done what he had set out to do, and had learned much from the woods around him. He packed his few belongings and his stack of journals and returned to Concord. Now he would turn his journal entries into a book. Generations to come would know life on Walden Pond.